everyone. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me today. Today, I would like to give you or share some experiences when it comes to the automotive solutions within Swiss Re and our experience. And let me quickly share my screen to start the presentation. Can you see it? It's great, good. Okay, so as I said, so today's topic of today's session is I would like to give you some kind of insights into the automotive solutions within Swiss Re, and especially on the fact how digitalized motor insurance can enhance its user experience. And we already heard a lot of examples, but before we're gonna dig into the topic a little bit more, let me just briefly introduce myself. As I said, so my name is Daniel Lohr. I'm the automotive and mobility specialist within Swiss Re and Moving Dots. So Moving Dots is a subsidiary of Swiss Re acquired in 2015, and it's a tech company. So mainly focusing on automotive solutions, developing end-to-end telematics solutions, for example, working with OEMs in other fields like ADAS risk score, claim management, all these kind of solutions which are really tailored to the automotive and mobility sector. And on the one hand side, I'm a project manager. That means I'm responsible for the integration of the solutions to the insurance companies' environments. But on the other hand, I'm also responsible or part of the sales team and responsible for Germany, Nordic, Central Eastern Europe, and also the Middle East. And before we now have a look on the user experience and digitalized solutions in the sector, I think one of the key facts here really is to understand also the evolution or the transition we are currently in, right? So if you have a look into the last past years, there's a rapid change when it comes to motor insurance. And I would like to give you an overview how Swiss Re as a reinsurance company sees this kind of change. And what we think or what we see is definitely that there is a change in the motor insurance sector, but this change is really just a very, very small intersection of the evolution of mobility. So mobility generally is changing, right? It's not just the motor insurance, which is a small part of this. And if you take the development of the journey, so today, and it's not today, it's more or less already the past, right? But we are coming from combustion engines. We have the human driving, so behind the steer wheel, there is some kind of a person, which is most likely also the private owner of the car, right? And there was no connection to the internet of the cars, so no data transfer, nothing. And if you now go a little bit more into the direction of the future, so that's more or less the situation we are currently in. Combustion engines are changing, and we are changing the model. So we are going more and more into the direction of the hybrid models. We have the battery electric vehicles. We are adding more and more assistance systems to the cars, which is L3, L and L4, for example. So really in the direction of the autonomous vehicles at the end. And here already is also some change in the behavior of the user, and that's very important to understand as well, right? So during the last years, there was a change also in the thinking of the users, but and what we experience is there's some kind of an openness when it comes to sharing, right? People are start to share their mobile cars, and cars are getting connected to the internet, and that enables us in a totally different view on the whole topic as well. So I think it was not imaginable that you share your car a few years ago, because cars are really the most valuable asset for a person, for an individual, and especially when you are driving a high value car like a Porsche, right? But there's also the experience in the US, for example, there was a program which was Porsche Host, and that was a peer-to-peer car sharing platform. And this enables persons on a short-term access to a Porsche vehicle, which was owned by a different person. And that was just not imaginable. And now if you have a look to the future, there's another change, right? So we are getting more into the into the direction of green energy. Sustainability is one of the key aspects, and which is really important for the customer experience and also for the customers. And also the ADAS functionality is getting more into the direction of autonomous vehicles. Everything will be shared more or less, and mobility providers will grow, and cars will be connected, and solutions will be connected. And if people always say, okay, there might be, that's just the future, it's still a way to go, that's not really true, right? I mean, even Google started already in 2009 the project Waymo, and which is a Google self-driving project, right? And the first goal in 2009 was to drive about 10 rides with around 100 miles. And in 2015 already, there was the first autonomous vehicle on the public roads in Austin, Texas, right? So there's a rapid change. In 2018, they already launched the self-driving ride-hailing service Waymo 1. And now, if you have the look from an insurance company on this, or a bank or whatever, you see also some kind of change in the rating and in the pricing of these kind of pillars, right? So today, or in the past, you had just the traditional rating parameters, which are personal data like age, gender, vehicle-specific parameters, and that was the pricing. But now, and today, you have already the possibility, due to telematics and telematics solutions, for example, you have the possibility to rate single individuals depending or linked to their driving behavior. So that's already another change. And the next step is, in the future, once we do not have any kind of driver anymore in the vehicles, there is some kind of rating of the safetiness of the cars, right? So you have really an evolution chain of the whole mobility and an insurance sector here. And also, the behavior, as already mentioned, of the users is changing. So there's a changing attitude towards the mobility, also from a user's point of view, right? And what we did is we identified three pillars of the changes. The first one definitely is convenience. And what do I mean with convenience? And we heard this already before, right? So convenience is that you use an application, and the application just gets the job done. And that was already mentioned before, right? So personal experience from my side as well. So some years ago, I traveled the first time to the Middle East. I traveled to Jeddah. And for me, after I arrived, it was more the cultural changes, all these kind of information was just overwhelming, right? And for me, it was already tough to get from the airport to the hotel at the end, because taxi drivers, they were not able to speak English in a way that I could use it, right? So what did I do? I opened my mobile phone, opened Uber, and got a ride from the airport to the hotel. And that's exactly what I mean. That's convenient. That is an application what gets the job done. And as well, you have the digitalization at the midsection, and I think that's very obvious what it is, right? So millennials and all these generations beyond, they prefer app and web-based solutions. So they do not want to do some kind of paperwork. They do want to access information fast and informative feedback very fast and on a short term. And the last point definitely is safety, and this will stay. And safety is some kind of a mass market key, right? So what you would like to have or experience as a user when it comes to mobile solutions is, especially when it comes to telematics and insurance, it's you want to be connected, or you want to use connected services in case of emergencies. You want to have fast and effective help, right? You do not want to wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks until you get some kind of help, and that's what you would like to do. It is more about the feeling of being safe in an environment if you are not at home. And today, it's not just about telematics, but I think telematics really is one solution which is good and can be used to explain these kind of things, right? Telematics, when insurance companies think about telematics, it's more about rating the user rating, assessing the risk, adapting the premium based on the driving behavior. But telematics generally and all these kind of digitalized solutions can do more and more, right? So it's not just about the user rating at the end, but telematics and digitalized solution, they can strengthen the bond between the user and also the company, right? So it's all about customer acquisition, it's all about customer retention, it's about cross-selling opportunities you're enabling as a company, right? What you would like to create, a user segment of beta drivers which are pretty loyal to your company. So, and they are going to people, and once the user is convinced that you are reliable and you are providing a good product, they will go to their friends and other people and say, hey, I'm together with this company, I have my policy with this insurance company, try it out, it's pretty cool, it's innovative, and it's easy to use, right? And that's something you would like to achieve. And all these kind of things, really, digitalized solutions as well, is about customer satisfaction level, right? And what we did is we did a study together with the University of Zurich as well. And it was about to find something out about telematics applications and applications to see how are they performing. And what we realized really is that the telematics app at the end just does not exist. And when you have a look at the usage of apps, so 80% of the consumers or consumers are spending more, around 80% just with 5 applications. And I really like this picture as well, because it shows each of those pretty highly rated apps at the end, they are really focusing on one certain point, on one aspect. So if you take Google Maps, for example, it's definitely tailored to do the navigation job, right? So it shows you on a map, give you insights of your surrounding, and is also able to do some kind of routing. So you're able to travel with this kind of application. If you take Uber, I mean, that's an app when it comes to ride hailing, right? So and that is something I already explained as well. And now, if you take all the average, so this study was in 2018, so it's quite some time ago, but during this time, the average of the 28 most used telematics app was 3.1, right, which is way below all the other good rated applications. And if you strip it a little bit more down, so if you just take 5 of the reviewed telematics apps, or 5 of the most reviewed telematics apps, you get just a rating of 2.84, which is even lower. And I want to show you or give you some insights about this study as well, right? So what we did is we had a look with machine learning and techniques. We searched for the reviews of the telematics apps, of the 28 telematics app, and we tried to identify really the main topics and which are important for users. And if you start structuring these kind of information, you have a set of around 7 different topics, right? And it's also already sorted. So reliability is one of the most important points when it comes to mobile solutions. And user experience and customer behavior, really, they users definitely stop working with the application or stop working using the application in case it's not working in a good way, right? So in case you have comments like works flawlessly, recording stops halfway, says it had no signal, so it does not make sense to keep it as a customer, and the customer will get rid of the application. We also have the fairness component, which is quite important, especially when it comes to telematics applications, right? In case you have a telematics application and it says, okay, you did a very great job, you got 100 of 100 points, but at the end, your premium is not reducing, and So there's a gap between the display of the application and yeah, the processes behind. It's just frustrating for the customer, and they will get rid of the policy as well. And I just want to go a little bit more, maybe also battery and privacy are one of the main things here as well. So I think battery is especially yeah, very, very important for customers, right? So if you experience that you are recording trips with a telematics solution and it's draining so much battery that you are not able to use your phone after you take a ride, it's so worse when it comes to customer experience, right? And or imagine you plug it into the power and it's still draining, so it's not loading, right? And that are really the killer arguments to get rid of an application for the customer. And privacy is also one very important topic. It depends a little bit on the market you're currently in and you're tailoring the solution for. But so I'm coming from Germany, and in Germany, privacy is one of the most valuable things a person can have, right? So people really care about where data is stored and how the companies are is using data. And that's very important as well. And now if you take all these kind of points and put it on a chart and showing the rating and the interest, you see that the badly rated things are very, very interesting or from interest for the users at the end. And what can a company do to achieve this? I mean, if you take these kind of points and put it in some kind of pyramid, it's very important that you, first of all, before you are adding some fancy things on top of the application, you need to do your facts, or you need to do the basis in a right way, right? So you need to cover the reliability, for example, the fairness, the clear understanding of the application, and privacy concerns at the very on the very top bottom section, right? And then you are able on the road and in the evolution, some kind of developing application, you are able to add the differentiators. And we already heard that telematics applications generally are more or less the same, or providing more or less the same functionality. And it's really about the user experience at the end. And on the very top sections, you can add some kind of wow effect if you would like to. But first of all, get the basics right, then add some kind of differentiators to your applications, and then you are able to also create these kind of wow effects. And if you put this pyramid more or less on the path of the development of solutions, that's something you should do as a company, and you really need to understand your customer and the customer segment. And this is more or less true for most of the markets we are currently developing these kind of applications. And now that there's some kind of value chain also for the insurance sector when it comes to telematics. And yeah, as I said, so telematics more or less it's more or less the first step when it comes to the transition of the new business model, because we are able to rate customers, right? And we want to go a little bit further and into the direction and later also rate vehicles. But it's really the first step to create the connection to the customers. And when you decide to go with telematics or any kind of other digital solution, it's very important, first of all, that you and your company, that you have a vision, right, and a strategy behind this, because there are too many ways and opportunities to develop and integrate solutions to the environment. I mean, you can create the most fancy app at the end, and which does not a lot of nice things, but in the end, it just does not what you would like to achieve, right? So, and the vision and the company strategy really is key here. And this also counts for the first step, right? The acquisition already. So if you have a vision, for example, and a strategy, and you would like to create some kind of telematics application, you need to target a customer segment you would like to reach, right? And considering this is already in the acquisition path. So if you're aiming for younger drivers or millennials, already the very first thing you're doing, the marketing, should aim especially to this direction, right? So it's really more about social media and convenience at the end. If you're targeting another model, it might be the right place to do some kind of advertisement through agents in the branches. And we made this experience as well. It's also market specific. So we made some experiences also in Saudi Arabia, right? So in Germany and Europe, for example, it's very common to use, very simple, to use email address and the password as a login mechanism, right? So you get a mail with a password, user credentials, and you can use it, or an SMS. But what we experienced, for example, in Saudi Arabia was the insurance companies, they do not have the right information. They do have email addresses and mobile phone numbers, but that's not the mobile phone number, not the mail address from the customer, because people are going to branches and agents, and the agents are just putting their mobile phone numbers in the fields and also their email address. So you do not have the right information to do this. And that's already the first step when it comes to acquisition, for example. And I will elaborate a little bit more on this also on the next slide. So the first step is acquisition, but the next path already is the onboarding process. So you need to tailor the onboarding process to your digitalized solution and do it very efficient and in a short way. The next thing then is that you need to create a solution which really fits to your strategy, to the vision, and also the user segment you're looking for, right? And that's really more about the visualization of the application. It should be easy to use, and it needs to be linked to the user habits of your user portfolio. And then at the very end, you can start to add values. And also an example for this, and I have some slides regarding this as well, is added values. And we heard this as well from one of the speakers before. So it's not just adding more and more functionality to the application, which is a gamification, for example, but it can be something else, right? It can also be functionality to start the claims, to digitize the claims process, right? And you can take pictures, videos of the cars, directly get a quote from the insurance companies. These are functionalities which really create some kind of competitive edge at the end. And if we now start to have a look on the acquisition and also on the onboarding, it's very key to remember also all these kind of three pillars in the changing attitude towards mobility, right? And the first one really is it has to be convenient. And if you are aiming for a younger portfolio, a younger for the young drivers, you need to create some kind of onboarding and acquisition model which definitely fits to this segment. And that's why I would like to show you a little bit the try before you buy model, which is easy to understand also from a customer perspective, but you also for this model you need to do it in the right way. So the first thing, I mean, there might be some kind of advertisement in these social media campaigns, right? So you get interested, or the customer gets interested and wants to test your application. So he does not want to buy directly the policy because he does not know, or she does not know what this kind of solution is able to do, right? They would like to test it beforehand. So that's why this try before you buy model works pretty well. So the first thing is that the user got interested in the solution, downloads it, and install it on the mobile phone. Maybe there's also a very small onboarding at the very beginning, and the user has to add some additional information, personal information, maybe vehicle-related information, right? The second step afterwards is that the user already has the possibility to start and use the application, maybe with all the features and functionalities, maybe just with a subset, depends a little bit on the business case and on the structure of this. And the user is able to start collecting data. I mean, everything here is really in the telematics context, right? So to give an example. And afterwards, after the data is collected and processed, there's a score which was calculated or is calculated. And the third step afterwards, after a try period, let's say three weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, the company is able to give or to calculate some kind of quote for the driver at the very beginning. And they will use the collected accelerometer data, all these kind of driving data, and also the initial entered information. And the fourth step then definitely is that the user gets a quote from the insurance company, accepts it or declines it, depending on the quote, right? And the whole process here also enables insurance companies advantage. I mean, you have the potential already, or there's a potential that you directly start from the very beginning to start to select the better drivers, right? You have the possibility to say, oh no, this person definitely is so badly rated, I don't want to give him a quote, and then you get already directly rid of the person, and it will not become part of the user portfolio. And on the other hand, there is also the potential for the customer, and he can say, or she can say, oh no, this quote is definitely too high for me, I will go to another company, right? So or this application does not work for me for my purpose, and that's good as well, right? So because you would like to get the customers which are really into your solution and using your solution in a good way. And although this is a pretty easy and understandable process, it's pretty much important from a user perspective that you tailor it in a very detailed way, because there is so much friction in this process, and that's a learning from our side as well. Because let's imagine you always, as an insurance company, you always have data science and actuaries in your company, right? And they say at the very beginning, we need to collect as much data as possible. And that's how we started as well. So we started some kind of an onboarding process with, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 pages where the user had to place personal information and vehicle related information, right? And you lose a lot of people because people do not want have the time. They do want to do it very quick and fast. And there's also the possibility that they just do not know the information when it comes to car specific information, right? And on all these kind of steps, there's so much potential to lose customers that you really need to understand the process and your customer base you would like to attract. And now, when we are getting more to the mobile application as well, right? So you need and understand really your customer base and adapt the application in this kind of way. There are a lot of potential functionalities you could enable. Gamification modules. One of the most important points definitely is coupons and vouchers, so some kind of rewarding system. But you can also create some kind of functionality which just does not fit you, the customer base you are targeting. And that's something we experienced as well. So we created a lot of fancy gamification modules at the end. But it was not important for the customer, because the customer wants to see how, or experience how they are able to lower the risk during their driving, right? And it's some kind of control circle you need to. So you need to get the information and adapt your application accordingly, and that's what we did as well. So we started to get rid of some gamification modules and started to create more my coaching, my analytics functionalities at the end. And one last thing, and if you're on the way on the pyramid and on the path, you can add really the functionalities which are creating the competitive edge. And it can be that it's some kind of an claims management process, right? So you're able to see here a very, very long and detailed claims management process, and the traditional one, right? It can take up to 3 weeks from an accident to the final settlement. And that's something we would like to reduce with an app solution, for example. So we want that the user, after a claim, and we want to be there also in the bad situations, right? Directly after the claim, and we got the first notification of loss, we want, as an insurance company, we want to be able to steer this kind of claims management process. So after the user has an accident, he should be able, or be called by the assistants or by the insurance companies, and then start really the digitalized claims management process. So entering some kind of claims related information, taking pictures or videos of the car, and maybe in the future also, and that's something we are currently working on as well, really directly get a quote after a few minutes after he had the experience, took some pictures and made a video at the end, right? And that's something which will end then with a smart payment, and that's definitely user experience, and that's convenient, and that's the safety aspect at the end. And that's really functionality which is create the competitive edge. And I would like to just to close the presentation with a quote of Steve Jobs, who's quoting Henry Ford. And yeah, I think Henry Ford once said, if I would have asked customers what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse. People don't know what they want until you show it to them. That's why I never rely on market research. So you need to experience as well with your solutions, but you as a company, you need a vision and also some kind of strategy behind it to create some kind of great user experience. Yeah,